So I started out in my geek nerd career officially a little late. When I was a kid, I was a huge April O'Neil Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. Like wanted to be a reporter, and then sort of got into other random sci-fi, a lot of the J.R.R. Tolkien stuff and Harry Potter. But I didn't really discover my geek niche until I had moved to Austin. I had been there for about a year, and I was doing a photo shoot. And the photographer, we were hanging out afterwards, and he put on the animated Wonder Woman movie. And there were a lot of conversations in the movie about gender and about the relationships between men and women and our socialization that piqued my interest. So I went into a comic book shop and had some stuff recommended to me, and then was just incredibly into it. I volunteered to help out at Free Comic Book Day, and it went over so well. I got along so well with everybody. They offered me a job, and my passion at the comic book shop was, I'm going to find the person that looks like they don't think they want to be here, because they want to be here, they just don't know it. Comic books are like all literature. There's something out there for everyone. But there are amazing things that are happening. I mean, you look at comic books specifically, and you look at the genres of comic book storytelling that are most successful now, and it's not your purebred white guy superhero story anymore. It's stories about people of color, it's stories about queer people, it's stories about people who look different or don't have superpowers and have real human emotional issues that are based in their not having superpowers, I guess. So the format of storytelling is changing, and the readership is changing and growing and evolving.
So for me, my nickname as a kid was books. Like I literally had my nose in the book all the time. I've always been a writer. I've always been someone who was running my mouth. And in 2003, I got on LiveJournal. And it turns out if you run your mouth on the internet about enough topics, eventually people pay you to write about them. It's amazing. And then they do like really wild and wacky things where they're like, hey, do you write about anything else? And when you say yes, they give you more money to do those things. It's awesome.
The harassment game has gotten to a point, and I call it the harassment game on purpose, right? Because you're talking about race and representation in sci-fi, you're talking about gender representation in comics. If you're talking apparently about software or tech or 400 other subjects, sooner or later, if you're a marginalized person on the internet where they can see you, they're gonna try it, right? And they're going to do things like, whether it's World of Warcraft or I write about black people with magic, like whatever. It's going to be something that they're like, this is our space. These comics are our space. These games are our space. You have no right to be here. How dare you make things for you, right? I'm gonna call Zoe Quinn's name because she wrote Depression Quest, and that's one of the things that has had this most recent thing to kick off. And she wrote a game about having depression and the quest to deal with it and whatever. And it was free, and it really wasn't that big of a deal except for people with depression who engaged with the game and found it enlightening in some way. And I'm still not sure how we've now turned make your own into how dare you make your own, but it used to be when you talked about representation, the response was, well, make your own. And now that people are making their own, the response is now suddenly, how dare you make your own? You're ruining things by being here.
I didn't really think about turning it into a career until actually I went to art school at Parsons School of Design, and I hated it. I was there for photography. I left art school, and I was so sick of the pretension that I moved back to Philly, where I'm from, and fell back in with the nerd scene, and it was basically like I had never left, which was great.
As a survivor of sexual violence, being touched by a stranger is hugely triggering for me, and I don't want you to hug me. Free hug signs are often well-intentioned, and no one is calling you like a sexual deviant for having one. But in New York Comic Con's policy, what we wrote was a free hug sign is a form of harassment. You will be asked to get rid of it. If you don't, you will be escorted from the con. And people acted like that was ridiculous.
So my big thing right now is in media and in anything that's portraying film and filmmaking and stuff like that, you need to have representation in it, or like, just because people, like, girls and people are just dying for this. Like, I would have killed to have some sort of connection to any women filmmakers when I was young, and there was none. And I write a blog just about my experiences on being a female cinematographer. I'm like the third Google result. If you Google female cinematographer, I pop up, and like, I was first for a while, and that's insane because I do, web videos. And it's just, it's this yearning, and it's really sad that like women can't look at an advertisement for a camera and see themselves. So like, I made a huge fuss, and I tweeted a lot, and I pissed off a bunch of people, and then now Blackmagic's website is miraculously populated with women and people of color, and like, they changed their Twitter header, and they changed the front page of the website, and so I was just like, okay, all right, but